Invincible.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the TGN Pro Series, heading now into round number 5 of our 8-round series. We are slowly starting to approach nearing the end of the series. It's quite a sad one, but we've had quite an amazing series so far. 4 rounds down and the 5th coming up now. Snetterton is your track where the BTCC cars will be taking place, and boy oh boy is it a good track nonetheless to have our drivers all racing on. Trying to get all those points down and on the board. My name is Tristan Earps, joining you today in the commentary box. I will be doing today solo like I normally do, the TGN Pro Series, and we're looking to have an absolutely epic night tonight. Before we go further though in this qualifying session, let's have a look at our Pro Series standings after round number 4. It is indeed Mr. Christopher Long who sits on the top spot with 156 points to his name. Michael de Kock just behind him with 148 points. Ralph Schuster sits third right now with 134 points to his name. Carl Williams just a bit further behind with 131. Orotile Motsogotele sits 5th right now, 127 points to his name. And Jared Leesk sitting 6th position, 125 points to his name as well. Daniel Kent, 120 points to his name. He's moved up a little bit. And unfortunately, a driver who dropped all the way from 3rd down to 8th position is Gio Sakia, who moves to 116 points down in 8th position. Kitso Majia sits 9th currently with 112 points. And Derek Truscott, who is actually blessing us with his presence here today in Johannesburg, as he's here in Joburg for tonight's event. He currently sits 10th on the championship standings, heading into round number 5. So we're looking to have a pretty good night here tonight, and our drivers are already ready. They've had a couple of minutes of practice, I would say about half an hour beforehand, of a good amount of practice that they've been given, and now they get to go ham for their qualifying session, and will continue striving forwards for those better lap times. It is currently Mr. Gio Sakia who sits up on the top spots of the qualifying leaderboard. 153 points to his, sorry, not 153 points. Had something in my view there. There we go. It's a 153.1 currently to Gio Sakia. Kitsuma Gia sits behind him with a 153.5. Michael de Kock with a 153.6. So all of our drivers getting into those 153s. They're all just trying to get that slow and gradual improvement just before the stream gets started. The actual main race gets started. We've had a question already in our TikTok stream from it's me, Johan, or Evan, depending on how you pronounce your name, and asking on which days do you have events. Now, it's a great question because here at TGN Racing Simulators, we are a very, very busy bunch of sim races over here, and we've got events scaling practically over the entire week. Your starting of the events is going to be on Wednesdays. Wednesday night, we have our Wednesday night racing, and that is a fully public event, and anybody is able to join in on the fun for 200 Rand per person per session. There's 3 sessions that run every single Wednesday night across all 3 of our stores in Johannesburg, Cape Town, as well as Durban. We then have Thursday night Pro and Rookie Series running every second Thursday, and that's exactly what you're watching right now. Tonight is the TGN Pro Series round number 5. We then, on Friday, not technically an event, but still something to look forward to, is your Friday half price, and that runs during the day, which means you can get half price on any 1-hour-long sessions on any of the rigs, and obviously it will be a discounted amount of 50% on the amount you have to pay at the end of your session. Saturday, we then have our Saturday Super Series that runs towards the evening side. It's a 1-hour-long event with 2 races inside of it, 1 GT3, 1 V8 supercar race. Also a lot of fun to get involved again across all 3 of our stores across the country. And then Sunday is going to be your F1 Sundays, which runs alongside the Formula 1 calendar. So it hasn't been going for the past 3 weeks or so, because obviously we've had a bit of a break with a couple of the races being cancelled in Formula 1, but we do get started with F1 back again in May. And then also on Sundays every month, the first Sunday of every single month is your TGN Endurance Series, which is what we just had running last week, which was absolutely phenomenal as well. Up on top, though, in our qualifying with about 2 minutes left to go, it is still Mr. Gio Sakia who leads the train, with Christopher Long just behind with a 153.1. Kitsuma Gia sits behind him, still with that 53.5. Michael de Kock just 4th position, 53.6. Ralph Schuster closes off that top 5 spot with a 153.8. JP Gosler down 6th with Jared Leesk in 7th position currently. Derek Truscott sits 8th position with a 154.3, and Session Governor 154.4 for himself. Carl Williams 154.4 as well. in 10th position. Volgi Trust got 11th with Oratile, and Matsugotsele struggling a little bit here at Snetterton. He's down in 12th position currently with a 154.7. Daniel Kent as well down 13th position. Sean Norst and Dean Jacobs, Tevin Paul, and those are your final drivers to be coming across the line. Omar Khan is in the session here tonight, but he's currently sitting in the pit lane, so I'm not too sure if he is going to be joining us here in tonight's racing. It's a pretty packed grid though. 16 cars that will be taking it away at Snetterton, a much better suited track for your BTCC cars. Very closed in and very tight. And I've got to say, a very good pick as well. There's your track map in the top right-hand side so that you can observe it and have a look at what our drivers are trying to conquer here in today's session. And obviously, like we already said, it's going to be quite a good one for all of our drivers to take on, as it is a bit of a challenging one. We've also got the privilege, again, of having Cape Town cams back up and running. You can see them in the bottom left-hand side with Mr. Jesse currently observing one of our drivers, making sure all is good that side. And so your Johannesburg camera will be on the left-hand side of the Master Drive logo, and the Cape Town cams on the right-hand side of the Master Drive logo. So great to see them being featured on the live stream yet again. And it seems like we've got a bit of more of a stable way to get the Cape Town cams up and running instead of having to stream it through a link or trying to get it through NDI. We've even just gone with the simple Discord stream, and as you can see, it is working phenomenally. So we should be good with Cape Town cams going forwards, having them in the bottom left-hand side for all of the future events. A massive thank you again to both TGN Racing Simulators and Master Drive who have made the TGN Pro Series possible. There's some goodies up for grabs for our winning driver at the end of the season, powered by TGN, with a couple of cool vouchers and sweet spots that are going to be coming towards the end of the season, and Master Drive giving away that advanced driving experience to the winner of the TGN Pro Series. So great to see the involvement and the sponsorship on that side as well, as we get slowly rolling on towards the start of the first heat for tonight's racing. Remember that we do have our 3 heats running for the TGN Pro Series. It's heat number 1, which is your standard racing procedure, 20 minutes of racing. Heat number 2 is then going to be your reverse grid based on heat number 1's results. And then heat number 3, the best of the best, which I prefer over all of them, is your chaos grid, because the grid is 100% randomized and it makes for quite a lot of action as drivers try and spring their way into different positions that they feel they belong inside of. We've got a couple of drivers left, as you can see on our track map, who are still finishing off those final laps, trying to break a bit further up into the top 5 spots. Unfortunately, Rolf Schuster has been booted down to 7th as JP Goslet makes his way up, as well as Christopher Long in that top 5. And so Rolf Schuster gets booted down a little bit further to 7th position. Kyle Williams still out on track in 9th position. He tries to get himself a better lap time, currently trailing behind another one of the vehicles. I believe that might be Kitsumajia, indeed it is. And Kitsumajia currently holding on to that 5th position spot, making his way around, trying to get just a little bit of a better lap time. Yeah, he is holding onto that final grudge of the 5th position, and just trying to make his way a bit further up. We'll have to wait and see if it's going to prove to be beneficial for him. That is officially the call for the end of our quali session. We've now got about 5 minutes or so of a wait before we get into heat number 1. So don't go anywhere. Heat number 1 will be with you shortly.
Everybody wanna do the same thing. That's why we ain't on the same page. Do my own thing and I maintain. Flow like water, so I'm going mainstream. I'm going mainstream. Flow like water, so I'm going mainstream. Yeah, I'm going mainstream. Flow like water, so I'm going mainstream. I'm going mainstream. Flow like water, so I'm going mainstream. Yup. Going mainstream. Damn. Flow like water, so I'm going mainstream. Woo. Going mainstream. Flow like water, so I'm going mainstream.
And it's officially the time to go live yet again here for heat number 1. It's going to be happening shortly as we have our drivers queuing up on the grid. As you can see, just about 25 seconds left until lights are out, and away we get to go here for the TGN Pro Series. It is Geosaki up in front, who managed to set an absolutely blazing lap time here in tonight's event. Michael Lecoq will line up just alongside him with Kitsumajia. Just behind him with Ralph Schuster, also just a bit further in 4th position. Jared Leask also down in 5th position. But let's have a look. Geosakia up in front. It is going to be lights out, and away we go. And indeed, there they go. Geosakia pulls off from the start-finish line and starts to challenge himself off with Michael Lecoq heading down into turn number 1 here. Off Snetterton. It gets very tight and close between our drivers, as we now see Geosakia loses out slightly in that top running. Michael Lecoq gets the inside line, and the rest of our drivers still manage to get in the wake just a bit further behind. The rest are all chasing on in the BTCC cars over here, and we'll have to wait and see if this is going to be a challenge or not between the top drivers. Christopher Long Kitsumajia has made his way around, but there seems to have been contact. There's a couple of cars backwards, and that looks like JP Goslet yet again, the man who does not have luck at the start of races. And unfortunately, in heat number 1 for the 2nd week running, he is all the way at the back end side at the start of the race. Christopher Long up in front. We'll have to wait and see. And apologies, I've just had, I think we've had a bit of an issue here. I'm just going to quickly have a double look. It looks like I might have had a bit of a game crash. And so let me quickly see if we can resolve this without ending our stream. Give me 1 second. We should be good to go shortly. Just waiting to see what happened. I'll be back now. Apologies about that, ladies and gents. It seems like we're all good and back to go. Just had a bit of a game crash, but looks like all is fine and well, and we can get back to the racing action. It is still Geosakia up in front, running with Christopher Long just a bit further behind him. The two of them have been contesting each other all the way down the line in the past couple of moments. Michael Lecoq just a bit further behind as well, with Kitsumejia just holding down in 4th position. Going through the next couple of corners, we're going to have to wait and see how this is all going to work between the drivers. Snetterton is a very close and technical circuit, and we're going to have to wait and see how all the drivers manage it in the next couple of corners, because it's going to get quite tight. As we can see, Aratile Motsogotsele going side by side now with Vilji Truscott and Jared Lees. Jared Lees just gets pushed behind and unfortunately has to sit in the slipstream now of Aratile Motsogotsele, trying to find his way around in his BTCC. The Toyota Corolla dives up on the inside line. It's a little bit of an overshoot there from Jared Lees, and he falls behind the likes of Aratile yet again. Up in front, though, it looks like Christopher Long has been able to actually manage himself towards the top end side, and Geosakia has unfortunately been surrendered down to 2nd position. It is now the chase behind with Michael Lecoq and Kitsumejia chasing down on the leading pack of this race, with the likes of Carl Williams and Ralph Schuster. Oh, it's a bit of a bumper tuck there, and Vilji Truscott almost gets himself spun around in that previous corner, and looks like he's been able to keep the car pointing forwards, but very, very close racing going on here in the Pro Series. A bit further behind, it's a long snake trail, as all the drivers tend to pile up on each other in one single line format and get the best possible aerodynamic flug in this track, and that's indeed what's happened. But someone's gone off yet again. A bit of an incident once more, and it looks like Dean Jacobs might have possibly been involved. Carl Williams, unfortunately, gets taken out towards the back end side, and he falls all the way down behind Tevin Paul. And so now it is unfortunately Carl Williams and JP Goslet all the way down off the running order of this pack, and they're going to have to try and work to get back up. But we've had a couple of nasty incidents here so far in this race, and it is still the very beginning. 16 minutes on the clock, and there is a lot of time to play for here in this race. Christopher Long up in front, with Geosakia just a bit further behind and trying to chase down to get the lead back of this race. But Michael Lecoq and Kitsumejia are not going to make it an easy one as they head down into the first right-hander hairpin. It is getting very close between these two drivers through the next couple of corners. Again, like we've already mentioned, Snetterton is a very, very close racing track, and it gets quite close indeed between these cars, as we've seen in previous events. If you have ever watched any form of racing at Snetterton, especially when some of the bigger cars race here, like the GT cars, it gets very close in terms of racing. So we've got the slightly smaller BTCCs here, but still, they will prove to be some of the best cars out on track that we will wait and see to see who comes out on top. There we see, I believe Tevin Paul or Session Governor. No, it's Session who goes over the curb and almost loses the rear as he bounces and bogs all over the track, and we'll have to wait and see if he can manage himself for the next 15 minutes. Hopefully he can, as things yet again are still changing up in front. Christopher Long is starting to run away, and unfortunately for Geosakia, he is not able to keep up because Michael Lecoq and Kitsumejia are putting the pressure on from behind, and this is something that we might be seeing in the next couple of laps, is an overtake or a change of 2nd, 3rd, and 4th position. Kitsumejia is looking all over that top running order to see if he can find a way to squeeze himself past Geosakia or the likes of Michael Lecoq. And now Geosakia has actually lost out and moves to 3rd position. Michael Lecoq gets 2nd, and now chasing onto the backside of Christopher Long. Geosakia gets demoted to 3rd position, and now Kitsumejia will be his next prey that he's got to watch out for. The next predator just behind him, who chases on. The rest of the cars, though, all pile up behind. Daniel Kent has managed to get himself a little bit further up in 10th position. A bit more of a poor qualifying result that we aren't used to seeing Daniel Kent a bit further behind, but unfortunately not the easiest one that he's had here at Snetterton Raceway. And so started a little bit further in 13th position, now up into 10th position, and that's definitely something he can work with behind the likes of Dean Jacobs. The rest of the drivers, though, with Derek Truscott piling on behind, and JP Gosler, unfortunately, very far off the running. Same with Tevin Paul, who seems to have had an error himself, as he's all the way down in 16th position, so that's going to be a long way running for him to make his way up the pack. Ralph Schuster and Vilji Truscott with Aratile up in 5th position. Kitsumejia just a bit further behind as they all try and work around. With the next 13 minutes, remember that there is still one mandatory pit stop that all of our drivers have got to comply with. If they do not serve that mandatory pit stop, they will run out of fuel, or they will have some form of tire puncture before the end of the race, just based on the fuel usage and tire usage set on the server here And it essentially just forces the drivers to come in for a change of tires and to add some fuel to those cars, and adds a bit of action with a pit stop strategy. So 13 minutes left. The drivers have got ample time to come into the pit lane or hold it towards the end side of this race, which is what we often see our drivers do, coming in towards the more 8 or 7 minute mark. And now we see the overtake coming from Ralph Schuster as he goes alongside the likes of Vilgi Truscott and gets ahead on the straight after Vilgi makes an error onto the entrance of the straight. So great move there from Ralph Schuster. Now chasing onto the backside of Oratile. Matsogotsele into the next couple of corners, and Oratile doing everything he can to keep Ralph Schuster at bay, but Ralph is now all the way up ahead, and Oratile, as you can see, much further up ahead. Apologies, getting confused there between Oratile and Vilgi Truscott as they try and work their way around the track. It seems like there's some action, though, towards the back end side, and I'm seeing possibly there's Derek Truscott, who's fallen down to 14th, unfortunately, and Sean Norse. Currently a bit of a fight right now with Carl Williams and Dean Jacobs. I did hear him shouting a little bit there down on the floor, so I'm not too sure if they had a bit of an incident that we might have just missed on the cameras there. And looks like Carl Williams dipping his feet off in the grass, and there he decides to actually pull into the pit lane. Kitsumajia also into the pit lane, so a couple of early pit stoppers trying to get that undercut strategy working. We'll see if it's going to work out for them or if it's going to play into a bit more of a negative effect. Only time is going to tell. Vilgi Truscott, though, down in 6th position, with Ralph Schuster holding down in 5th. Session Governor down in 8th position is also doing his absolute best, but fighting it out with Daniel Kent, who now makes his way up into 8th position. It's going to be a hard fight between these two, because we know that Daniel Kent's overall motive is to try and get up towards that top 3. He's definitely got the pace for it, and he's well experienced in the TGN Pro Series. Fighting one of the new guys in the TGN Pro Series, it is Session Governor just behind him, and only his fifth race ever in the TGN Pro Series, obviously brand new in this season, and trying to work his way around that yellow Corolla, but it's going to prove to be a bit more of a difficult one. Jared Leask with Ralph Schuster just a bit further up in front, and he's trying to catch up, but it's going to be a bit of a long one to catch on. There you can see it's about 9.5 seconds that he's got to try and work on the backside of Ralph Schuster, so we'll have to wait and see. With 7 seconds from Ralph to Oratile, Matsogotsele holding off on that 4th position. Michael de Kock is in a great attacking stance, though, against Christopher Long for the lead of this race, and he's been there for the last couple of laps trying to get past Christopher, but putting on an excellent defense is indeed Christopher Long up in front, which if these two continue to fight, it's going to allow Gio Sakia to rejoin behind in 3rd position. Unfortunately, Kitsumajia, who was up there fighting, I believe has come into the pit stop, and I'm hearing someone complaining down on the floor again. I believe it's Sean Norse. Indeed it is, and it looks like Sean Norse has had a bit of a moment. Indeed he has. He's off the track, and I believe Dean Jacobs was slightly involved in that one as well. Possibly JP Goslet as he tries to work his way through, but a couple of unhappy complaints down on the field there, and Sean Norse definitely one of them affected. He's all the way down in 13th now with Kitsumajia, who's already pitted right on the back end of him, so he's got to watch out for that one. A lot of our drivers, though, jump into the pit lane. It's Oratile, it's Vilgi, it's Session, it's Daniel. JP Goslet also jumps into the pit lane now. Same with Dean Jacobs. So lots of our drivers coming in to serve that mandatory pit stop. Our top 4, however, have decided to stay out. So the top 4 of our drivers all staying out in this race, and we'll have to wait and see if the overcut strategy, is going to work out for them. Daniel Kent and all the rest come out. It is a very quick pit stop here at Snetterton, as it lines right along the right-hand side of the start-finish straight. No turns or bends needed, like we've seen with a couple of the other tracks. It is one simple entry and one simple exit, not a confusing one at all. So nice and easy for our drivers to get in and out of there, and they will continue pursuing around the track after getting those pit stops done and dusted. 9 minutes left to go, though, in heat number 1. So in this 20-minute race, that's still just about 45% or so left to go. So still a good way that the drivers can have to try and fight and contend here. Christopher Long has got to watch out on his rear side, though, for Michael de Kock, especially when it comes to those pit stops, because one pit stop error between these top 2 could change the running order between those two. And Gio Sakia trying to hang on in 3rd position, but he is ever so slightly losing out on that overall lap delta. It was about 2.4, now down to 3.4, unfortunately, that he's got to try and work with in this race. It seems like most of our drivers have come into the pit lane, except I don't think our leaders have, unless they did, as we'll have to wait and see how it goes for all of them. And coming around the next couple of corners, Sean Norse, he's just got Tevin Paul a little bit further behind in 16th position. Carl Williams and Derek Truscott a little bit further behind, 11th and 12th position. They're also about to get into a bit of a fight themselves if Carl Williams continues to work up on the fight that he's currently working on. He may potentially get onto the backside of Derek Truscott here in the next couple of corners. We'll have to wait and see if that's going to work out for him or not. Michael de Kock now into the pit lane, and he gets booted down to 4th position behind that running 3-pack, but the top 3 still yet to come in and box. It is indeed Ralph Schuster, Gio Sakia, and Christopher Long who have decided to stay out in this race. I don't know if Oratile Matsogotsele has also decided to stay out or not, or if he's already come into service pit stop, but if he already has, it means he's in a great position to potentially attack that top running pack. And so we'll have to wait and see. Jared Leesk has also done himself a pretty good job here today. 4 positions up from his 10th place start, and seems like he's doing quite a good job at keeping that car nice and consistent in his Toyota Corolla XR. We'll have to wait and see if that's going to pay off for him with the strategy he's decided to play here today. Daniel Kent also, like we mentioned already, 5 positions up from his start in 13th all the way up to 8th position. And that's some great track work there from Daniel Kent to get himself into a fighting chance. He's got Michael de Kock just up in front of him, and we'll have to wait and see how this is going to work. But Michael de Kock, what a huge drop-off, unfortunately, after this pit stops from 2nd all the way down to 7th position. And I wonder why that drop was so dramatic. And I'm wondering if he's made a mistake somewhere in the pit stops. That would be quite catastrophic. And I'm hoping that that is not the case. Christopher Long and Gio Sakia still up on top in today's leaderboard for heat number 1. And as they come across the final corner here, heading towards the backs of the main straight, where that pit entry marker is going to be, we're going to have to wait and see to see if Christopher Long is indeed going to be coming in this lap. And indeed he does. Jumping into the pit lane is Christopher Long, and just behind him is going to be Gio Sakia, who decides to join in on that fight. Ralph Schuster jumps into the pit box as well. So your top 3 all coming in. Here comes Kitso Magia, who I believe has already pitted slightly earlier on in this race. And so he's going to come out rounding that final corner now. And if the previous deltas have told us anything, it means he's probably going to come out ahead of these the fighting pack in the pit stop. And here comes Kitso Magia, just overtaking every single soul in that pit stop and back up into the top running. 1st place currently for Kitso Magia. That's after pit stops. And now he holds the lead of this race. Christopher Long comes out 2nd with Gio Sakia still 3rd. And Ralph Schuster rejoining with Oratile Matsogotsele just behind him in 5th position. The overall breadwinner here, though, if he has pitted, obviously we may have missed it, but I'm pretty sure I did see Kitso Magia pit a couple of laps ago. And if he did already pit, well, he's got a great chance at winning heat number 1 as he sits in 1st position. However, if he does still need to pit, unfortunately, that's going to drop him quite a bit of a long shot down, as most of the drivers behind are all within attacking distance. And so that will drop him well out of the top 10 if he has to come into pit now. I don't think he does, as we're seeing lots of the drivers in the background still fighting. And we'll have to wait and see if there's any form of escalation there. Vilji Truscott still holding on with Derek and Kyle Williams, trying to work their way into that top 10 a bit further. We are about to breach into the 5-minute mark, the final quarter of this 20-minute race. And we shall then indeed crown ourselves a heat number 1 winner for round number 5. We then prepare for heat number 2. And heat number 2, like we already said, is going to be a great one as well. That reverse grid is going to work quite fantastically as we wait to see how that goes. Kitso Magia up in front with Christopher Long and Gio Sakia still in 3rd position. The top 3 rounding around the next couple of corners as they head towards the final oval piece of Snetterton. And there we see Oratile and Ralph Schuster also coming along the lines. And Gio Sakia about 7/10 away from Christopher Long. He's in an attacking chance here to try and get into 2nd. So I'm not too sure what's happened to Michael Koch. The fact that his pit stop has put him so far behind. And down in 7th position is not going to play him the good cards yet tonight. And unfortunately, he's got a long way to fight. Jared Leesk, Ralph Schuster, Oratile, all in front of him before he's even near Gio Sakia, which is around about the level of fighting that he was at before the pit stops took place. And about a breach down into that 4-minute mark. We are slowly coming towards the end of heat number 1. Kitso Magia holding it off up in front with Christopher Long still holding 2nd position. A couple of other drivers in the background, I believe, as well. We still have 10th, 11th, 12th, and 13th. With Vilji Truscott holding off 10th, just a bit further behind is 11th of Derek Truscott. Carl Williams trying to catch up, and JP Goslet, who we obviously saw going off right in the beginning of this race, in 13th. Sean Norse in 14th, and 15th is Dean Jacobs. Kitso Magia up in front is also trying to make his way around, and we'll have to wait and see if that is going to work out with himself and Oratile Matsogotsele. Ralph Schuster in 5th with Jared Leesk still holding in 6th, and Ralph goes for the dive up on the inside line here and trying to defend as much as he can from Oratile, but unfortunately that defensive inside hold has played a negative card for him in the next couple of corners, because Arotile has now claimed 4th position and taken it away from Ralf Schuster in the closing moments of this race. And Ralf Schuster not going to be happy about that one, because now he's got the very aggressive Jared Leesk just a bit further behind him. Michael de Kock also joining in on that fight just behind Jared Leesk. And so it's quite a long train battle over here, all the way from 4th down to 7th position. And hopefully we get to see some action. You can see it in the background there. The fact that Jared Leesk is getting moved on now by Michael de Kock, but up in front, Ralf Schuster is looking for redemption. And on the inside line, what an absolutely phenomenal move from Ralf Schuster to dive up on the inside of Arotile Motsogotsele and moves back up into 4th position and hold his current points, as that one position up is going to give him slightly better points going out of heat number 1, which he will definitely take and not complain about. So let's see if he can push his way up to Gio Sakia. 4 seconds with 2 minutes and 20 seconds left. It's going to be quite a bit of a push here for Ralf Schuster, but we'll have to wait and see. Michael de Kock down in 6th position still, with Jared Leesk in 7th position. Volji Truscott and Session Governor with Derek Truscott down in 11th position, all trying to make their way with about 2 minutes left to go. Towards the back end side, let's have a bit of a look at our drivers. Unfortunately, Tevin Paul down in 16th position, trying to do everything that he can. There we have Dean Jacobs in 15th and Sean Norse just a bit further up ahead in his pink car in 14th, trying to catch up with 13th position of JP Goslet. And JP Goslet, unfortunately, slightly off of the backside of Kyle Williams now, who holds 12th position. Kyle just on the backside of the 2 Truscott brothers. Derek, who's here in South Africa right now, and Vilji down in Cape Town. And they're going to be contesting each other shortly, in the next minute and a half. Hopefully we get a bit of a fight between them before we close off this race. Session Governor 9th position, with Daniel Kent just up in front in 8th position. Jared Lee's called 7th currently, and unfortunately not able to get up ahead of Michael de Kock. He loses out from Michael de Kock, and unfortunately not able to recontest and get back up ahead. Arotile also holding down 5th position. And once Ralf Schuster got back the previous lap, he just seems like he cannot get back past that maroon car of that Cupra Leon. And it looks like Arotile has to settle for 5th position for this race if he cannot make a move in the next 50 seconds. Where our race leaders are currently, it is Kitso Magia who holds the lead of this race after a phenomenal pit stop strategy. And rounding around the final oval with 40 seconds left, I think we might be in it here for one more lap as he does come around the oval. Indeed, I think it is going to be one more lap. We've still got 30 seconds left and 1 corner to go. So Kitso Magia is going to be taking the grid over for one more lap. He comes down to the start-finish line with 29 seconds left to go and crossing that checkered flag line right about now. So one more lap to go with 20 seconds remaining, and that will give some fighting opportunity in the background. Arotile Motsogotsele is going to do absolutely everything he can to keep the likes of Michael de Kock behind. And unfortunately, it seems like I've spoken a bit too soon, as Michael de Kock looking up on that outside line, then switches it to the inside line for the next corner. And it seems like it's going to be back and forth for this next race. Session Governor down in 9th position with Vilji Truscott in 10th. And a couple of other drivers also still fighting down towards that mid-pack. But your eyes are on the battle for 4th position right now, with Ralf Schuster holding on with Arotile Motsogotsele, trying to hold Michael de Kock back, and Jared Leesk also holding on with everything that he can before this race comes to its slow end, with this being the final lap, a 2-minute long lap time around about Spa Francorchamps in a GT3 car is what Snetterton is like for the BTCC cars in today's racing. And we'll have to wait and see how this is going to go. Session Governor a little bit further down in 9th position is trying to chase onto the backside here of Daniel Kent before the race ends. He's got the opportunity to. He just has to find the correct part of the track to make this overtake stick. Governor has to sit in that slip for the time being, as the rest of the drivers all try and work their magic. Up in front though, it is actually Christopher Long who's taken the lead of this race on the final lap. And so for Kitso Magia, crossing the line to start off another lap has actually been a curse for him, because it's allowed for Christopher Long on the final couple of corners to take the lead at the end of the straight. And Kitso Magia, absolutely nothing you can do in that Vauxhall. He does not have the slipstream nor the raw top speed pace to try and contest Christopher Long up in front in that Cupra Leon. And it looks like Christopher Long, after a long, hard-fought battle, after not being in the lead for most of the race, has turned it around. And he's going to come across the line for heat number 1 and take the checkered flag by storm. Kitso Magia takes second with Ralf Schuster, and Gio Sakia third and fourth the other way around. Arotile Motsogotsele in 5th position, Michael de Kock in 6th. Jared Leesk will come across the line in 7th, with Daniel Kent, after a hard fight, taking 8th. Session Damanda in 9th, with Vilji Truscott in 10th, and Derek Truscott down in 11th. And Kyle Williams will take 12th position, just on the backside of Derek Truscott, and JP Goslet doing everything he can in 13th to try and fight it out. Down in 14th, it is going to be Sean Norse as he works his way still through the track, as well as Dean Jacobs in 15th position. Tevin Paul down in 16th will do everything he can to bring this car across the line and finish it off strong on the final part here of heat number 1. But that's officially it for your heat number 1 racing. Heat number 2 will come to you in approximately 5 minutes of time. But what a great race we've had here for heat number 1. Stay tuned, stick around for heat number 2, coming to you live in about 5 minutes.
Yeah. Now, I just want to try and help you, but to focus on more the action. Let's see where I can assist.
I'm taking the world, you'll see. They'll be calling me, they'll be calling me royalty. Best to give me loyalty, 'cause I'm taking the world, you'll see. They'll be calling me, they'll be calling me royalty. They'll be calling me royalty.
see everything. Testing 1 2 1 2 1 2. Just check if the audio doesn't clip on.
And we are officially ready to get back with all the action for heat number 2 with 10 seconds left on the clock. Omar Khan is joining us in the commentary box here for heat number 2 and heat number 3 running for this race. It is officially a 5-second countdown to the start of it, and the lights are officially out, and away we go. It looks like our starting runner is indeed going to be Dean Jacobs alongside Tevin Paul, who gets the reverse grid order up in front. Sean Norris just a bit further behind him is also going to do absolutely everything he can to make his way a little bit further up on this grid, and we'll have to wait and see, because usually Sean Norris up in the front, he tends to have a bit of an issue, and it seems like we've had someone going off, and that Session Governor getting pushed off completely sideways, but somehow manages to turn it around, and he's actually facing forwards back on the track. What a great move there from Session Governor's side, and hopefully he can continue running up in front. But what a great start we've had there so far, Omar.
It's a great start. There was a couple of incidents. We saw another driver who turned around on turn 2. Obviously expected him from different angles. And yeah, this race can get extremely competitive. I mean, all these guys are like crazy fast. I myself competed in one of these races, and it's very hard to keep up.
Yeah, absolutely great stuff that we're still seeing with Tevin Paul still leading this race so far, and Kyle Williams has been able to trinket himself up into second position. Derek Truscott trails behind in third, with JP Goslet getting himself up into that fourth position slot, and unfortunately Sean Norris, who did start second, has moved all the way down to sixth position now, and he's going to have to wait and see if he can work his way and do some magic up towards the top side of this race. And hopefully he can work something out to potentially pull his weight a bit further up here. I am just seeing we are not getting something here on my side. I just want to quickly pull it through. And there we should be pulling it through now. And yeah, all should be good to go now on the live stream. And Derek Truscott still up in front. He's been able to take over from Tevin Paul now. Towards the top side of the grid, with JP Goslet now getting up into third as well. Michael de Kock moves up into fourth position, and it seems like the reverse order grid has really started to play some tricks. Aratilia, though, still down in 15th position as it currently stands. 16th, apologies. And a couple of our faster drivers, Christopher Long, who just won heat number 1, is doing everything that he can to work his way back up. He's currently in 9th position behind Daniel Kent and Sean Norris. And there's quite a big pack fighting on over here. This is a battle for 6th position with Gio Sakia. Seems to be leading that fight as quite a long train. It's actually JP Goslet who leads this fight, with Tevin Paul in second. Michael de Kock now gets up ahead in third, and quite a big, well, what a massive train we've actually got going here. But there's a bit of a side tap there on Michael de Kock, almost facing sideways on track there. That could have been a bit catastrophic to see. Just a couple of corners before, we have more bumping there in the background. It looks like Rolf Schuster being forced off track on that right-hander. And there we have someone going wide up in front. It's one of our yellow BTCC cars, and I think that might be the likes of Daniel Kent, who just went slightly wide, and it seems like he's been able to recover himself in 5th position. Good save in the BTCC car. And so far, the rest of the drivers, oh, and there's someone who's gone around, and that looks to be the only Vauxhall out on grid. It's Kitso Magia, who turns around in 16th position, and he loses out on a massive fight and forces his way down. Super unfortunate to see there, Omar, that we just saw the drivers just getting a little bit too much pressure on each other there.
Yeah, that's what happens in this case, where you're having 3 drivers going side by side, taking the turn. Nobody wants to back off. It just gets so competitive with these type of drivers. What we have missed is that Kyle Williams was actually in second place and somehow ended up right at the bottom in the same likes of Kitso Magia. It's quite unfortunate for Kitso. Kitso definitely has the pace for this track, but this was happened in the reverse grid. The faster drivers at the back, slower drivers in front, and trying to move through the pack. And yet again, we have another incident with Dean Jacobs as well.
Yeah, unfortunately, Dean Jacobs, it looks like he's had something happen to him down in 7th position, just bouncing around, it seems, with a couple of other drivers, as we now see him trying to catch up behind the likes of Ralph Schuster. And Christopher Long is going to be catching up on the back of him, so we will be seeing an overtake happening imminently as we wait for Christopher Long to pull his normal antics that we see in heat number 2, where he, he attempts to claim back the positions lost based on him getting forced to the backside of the grid. There's a little bit of a bump that we see there. Unfortunately, Vilji Truscott making contact with Dean Jacobs, which then almost bounces into the side of Christopher Long. And now Sean Norse actually losing out as well. And he's on the battle now with Christopher Long, who's side by side getting pushed off in the grass. We'll go to a cockpit cam here. And Christopher Long is not happy with that one. You can see how he's flashing the lights there on the backside of Sean Norse. Not happy with that overtake. And Sean Norse getting a little bit aggressive and pushing Christopher Long off the track. He's now got to work his way back up on the backside of Sean Norse and Dean Jacobs. We'll have to wait and see if he's got something in him to potentially get past. He's yet again built up the momentum, and he's now looking up on the inside line of Sean Norse. Is it going to be enough, though, to get past? It is a little bit of bumper-to-bumper action there between Christopher Long and Sean Norse. They do bump into each other a little bit, but it looks like they've been able to recover it. Another bump there from Sean Norse, from Christopher Long on the backside of Sean Norse, and a bit of an unfortunate one to see. On other hands, though, Derek Truscott has completely run away with this race. The man who's decided to come down to Joburg for one race, and it seems like he's up in front and enjoying his time in that blue Cupra Leon, and he's currently pulling quite a bit of a stride on Gio Sakia, well over 2 seconds of a gap currently between the top two, and we'll have to wait and see if he can continue to extend that gap, or if Gio Sakia is possibly going to climb back on the backside of him. Session Governor and Jared Lees also fighting quite hard, and the contact seems to be a little bit higher, Omar, between a couple of our mid-pack fighters.
That is what happens with those fast guys, trying to obviously work their way through. And while Chris has obviously been blocked or by a slower driver, if you look at the surrounding drivers, we got Daniel Ken, Carl Williams, Oratile, Kitso. They are all trying to push through that pack and get in their top positions. Yes, Derek got a massive lead at the moment, but do not sleep on Gio. Gio is a man that will turn the game around. And obviously looking at Michael de Kock being consistently one of the top runners of every round so far.
Yeah, top runner indeed. And Michael de Kock seriously has shown some strides here in the TGN Pro Series, and he's been able to make it work quite nicely. And again, like you mentioned, he had a pretty good race there in heat number 1, but it seems like a pit stop strategy kind of pushed him down a little bit towards the back end side, and obviously started it towards a bit more of the middle end of this reverse grid race. But it seems like he's been able to convert it quite well and move himself into 3rd position. I see Mr. KLM Paces here in the YouTube grandstand. Great to see you there, Mr. Kalen Mauer, saying, "Let's go, Kyle." And Kyle getting some cheers down at 11th position as he tries to work his way around track. Jared Leesk is just up in front of him, and we should be seeing a bit of a fight between these two in the next couple of seconds, going on that rear inside of Jared Leesk. You can just see the push coming slowly from the likes of Kyle Williams, possibly, apologies, juggling through the camera angles there, and it seems like we've found the right one. And there you can see Kyle Williams just a bit further in the background, trying to catch up on the backside of Jared Leesk. The rest of the drivers also just trying to make their way around. We should be seeing the pit stops coming in imminently, with about 12 minutes left to go, and Vilji Truscott down in 6th. If I can ask you, Omar, someone who's been down on the grid here in the BTCC cars, what would you say is normally the best player in terms of pit stop strategy? Is it better to sometimes jump in early, or is it better to try and extend your gap out and go as late as possible?
Basically, from my experience, I can say, depending where you are on the grid. So a driver like Derek Truscott, he's out in front, he's running away, he's got clear air. Same for Gio Sachia as well as Michael de Kock. They can run it and stretch this pit strategy out. However, if you got drivers like Christopher Long, you got Sean Govender, Sean Norse, and Kitso, they are all fighting within each other. What's actually happening, they are overdriving the tires. They are getting slower by the lap times because they're blocking one another. Me personally, I would have put it by now so that I can get the clear air to put down the laps to actually get past these people.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely agree with that. When you've got all the air up in front and no one to really contest, you can really push the tire life on these cars, and also your confidence tends to stay quite unshattered. You don't make as many mistakes, but like you mentioned, if you're a little bit further down towards the mid-pack and you're carrying a lot of dirty air with the cars up in front, sometimes it is more beneficial to jump into that pit box, get into a bit of a better placement out on the grid, and wait for the rest of the grid to unfold when they come in for their pit stops. We are about reaching the halfway mark of heat number 2, about 50 seconds countdown to the 10-minute mark, which is when we should be seeing some of our drivers come into the pit lane. Currently, unfortunately, Oratile Motsogotsele has not had the best of chances down here, down in 16th position as it stands, and he still sits in 16th, basically since the starting procedure of this race, and just not able to work his way back up. Kyle Williams is also down there, unfortunately, in 15th position, and seems like, as Omar mentioned a little bit earlier, he went from quite a high running spot all the way down to 11th position, and now down to 15th, so Kyle Williams just having a little bit of a hard time here at heat number 2. At Snetterton. Again, we have already mentioned that this is quite a complicated track to race in these cars. A lot of sharp corners, and it tends to make for quite a good bit of racing. But there we see the pit stop strategies officially coming in play. And Vilji Truscott jumps in. Daniel Kent jumps in. Gio Sakia. Looks like Jared Leesk is going to be staying out. Indeed, he does. Daniel Kent comes into the pit stop now as well. So a couple of our drivers choosing to jump in early. But Michael de Kock, JP Goslet, and Ralph Schuster, the top 3, have decided to stay out. And we'll have to see how this plays out for that top 3 in terms of positioning. Once the rest of the drivers come out, we'll have to wait and see how this is going to play out and unfold, especially with a couple of our foster drivers like Christopher Long, who won heat number 1, has decided to pit slightly earlier, exactly like Omo was calling for it. Being stuck in that middle pack has proved slightly more beneficial for him to get that pit stop done early.
Yeah, so far Christopher Long has pitted as well, and he came out on 13th place. He has Sean in front of him. Carl Williams is in front. I'm not sure if Carl actually pitted already. If Carl has pitted, he is actually on the more positive side to actually make a comeback more in the middle of the pack. Derek is now laying in 7th. However, he still has to work his way through some of the drivers if they're going to actually keep him up. In same what happened to Michael in race number 1, where he came out quite low in 5th place out of the pit.
Yeah, seems like that's what we were chatting about a little bit a couple of minutes earlier. That pit stop that Michael Lecoq had in in heat number 1, which obviously chucked him a little bit further back towards the grid side, and unfortunately didn't play towards his end positioning. And so we're hoping that doesn't happen to any of our top runners here. Kito Majia, obviously, probably the driver who is quite dissatisfied after running first last race and just losing out to Christopher Long on the final lap in heat number 1. Unfortunately, the pit stop strategy was really good, but he just could not keep Christopher Long at bay. And we'll have to wait and see if he's got something up his sleeves here for this race. There we see our top 3 now coming in. Ralph Schuster, Jared Lees, JP Gosler, and Michael de Kock all coming in. So now all eyes turn to those drivers who decided to pit nice and early. You mentioned Carl Williams, especially if he has already pitted. It means he's going to get a great rotation here. So we'll have to wait and see if he dives in or if he's going to be staying out. I'm not 100% sure if Carl Williams has pitted or not, but it looks like he is indeed staying out yet again. So to my understanding, I'm pretty sure Carl Williams has indeed already gone into the pit box. And look who's up in top again. It's Mr. Kitso Majia, but I don't know if he's coming to pit yet. I think he has still yet to pit up in top. Gio Sakia secures himself second though right now, with Derek Truscott trailing behind. So it's going to be quite a bit of a fight here for the top 3, and hopefully, Omar, we can keep it nice and clean between our top fights.
Yeah, I mean, the guys are pushing. Derek is obviously climbing right onto Gio's tail, and not forgetting JP, also one of the newer, less experienced sim racers that's new to sim racing, is actually doing a phenomenal job. I mean, coming up to fifth place. Even on the previous race in Branch Hatch, even had a podium. So anything can happen in these type of racing, especially with the racing being so short and the amount of cars that we have on track as well. But we have to give credit where credit is due. Jared is also doing a phenomenal job of his type of racing style that he does. And I mean, being in the mid pack might be a bitter pill to swallow, but it's phenomenal how these guys all have pace on one another. I mean, if you count a majority of these people, 8 of the 8 drivers are less than a second to the next driver.
Yeah, it means that fighting is imminent, which is great to see the close racing action. We always love to see it. And another great representation, if you are watching on the live stream, is looking at that track map in the top right-hand side. You can see trailing all the way from 6th position, basically down to 13th, is one long snake line, and like Omar mentioned, it's all within a second of each other, and they can all essentially fight it out and potentially change up a couple of positions before the end of this race. And so that's definitely a massive battle we're going to be keeping an eye on. But a battle to be keeping an eye out as well is the top spots, because Gio Sakia currently holds off in P number 1, and Derek Truscott, like we already spoke about, is closing in very, very shortly. As you can see, that timer is continuously dropping. It was about 1.1 seconds, now down to 6/10 between the top two. So we could potentially be seeing a bit of a battle here up in front. But the main battle is going to be coming in that massive pack from 6th all the way down to 13th position. And you can see it live on your stream right now, how many cars are all bunched up together as we wait for some action to spring upon us. Daniel Kent is right on the backside now of Volgie Truscott. And going onto that cockpit camera, you can see just how close he's getting on the backside of that Cooper Leon in the next couple of corners. And that's a late dive there from Volgie Truscott. And that's allowed for Daniel Kent to go completely side by side with him now on the back straight. Carl Williams is also looking at this fight and potentially wanting to join in, but great move there from Daniel Kent on the inside. He saw the opportunity and he's made it stick on the inside of Volgie Truscott. Carl Williams is going to be the next to try and attack the prey of Volgie Truscott, and we're going to have to wait and see if Carl Williams has got something up his sleeves to get past, or if he's going to be sitting at bay for the next couple of corners as we wait for an attack from him. Ralph Schuster a bit further behind as well in 5th position. He's trying to work something out. He's got JP Goslet and Michael de Kock just a bit further up in front, who will also be fighting it away with each other. Down back to towards 9th position, we do have Jared Lees holding quite a bit of a storm behind him, and seems to have Christopher Long right on the back-end side. And we've spoken about Christopher quite a bit here already, Omar. I mean, his talent to try and work back on this grid. And as you can see, he's already doing it here with Jared Leesk, another position claimed by Christopher.
Well, Christopher has quite an extensive experience in sim racing. Basically, me and him have quite a long relationship with sim racing, more than 15 years racing together. Further than that, he's a go-kart racer. He started with go-karting and he became a racing champion, drifting champion of South Africa. So he's got fuel in his veins.
Oh, it seems like
But
he's
also not taking away from Jared Lees, that just overtook Sean, and the funnest battle, I would say, is now currently the two teammates of Oratile and Kitso that's in 0.1 of a second with each other.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a fight to watch out for. Yeah, the two master classes here in Johannesburg of Oratile and Kitso Magia. And these two, if you've been watching TGN for a while, you've seen them on your screens quite a couple of times. And like Omar has mentioned, teammates that race outside of TGN, and they get to compete with each other inside of the realm of TGN, which is great to see. They sometimes pair up as well for the TGN Endurance Series, but obviously that's according to random draw. But again, they get to put the pressure on each other in the TGN Pro Series. 3 minutes left of this race, and time has absolutely flown past here. Gio Sakia extends that lead, though, by 1.3 seconds, and it looks like he's quite comfortable to keep heading on strong in 1st position. We'll have to wait and see, though, if he can keep his cool towards the end of this race. Daniel Kent and Carl Williams, hopefully something springs upon us here in the next couple of corners, because we do see Carl Williams getting closer and closer in this next couple of corner segments. We could potentially be seeing a fight here, and so keep your eyes peeled for the battle for 7th position. I do see Jared Leesk moving around quite a bit as well, and he's currently fighting quite hard with Session Governor. And Daniel Kent, someone's off, though. Is that Oratile? No, it's Daniel Kent, who's lost control of the car on the chicane and unfortunately drifts off to the left-hand side. That's such an unfortunate one for Daniel Kent, and loses out in the battle for 5th position all the way down to 14th.
Yeah, that is unfortunate. Daniel, quite an aggressive driver, likes to go and use all of the track. However, it does catch him. He had the same incident on Donington, clipping the rear end with the grass and just caused him to go out of control of the car. But I can say this so far, Carl Williams has pitted. It's clear that he has pitted already. And what a comeback, coming all the way from 16th to 7th.
Yeah, absolutely masterclass of a drive here from Carl Williams, and this just shows you consistency pays off. What's happened, though, as Jared Lees gets shoved off the track just behind Carl Williams, and that's the fight currently between Jared, Session Governor, and Kitso Magia. And now Jared gets past the two of them behind. Chasing up in front will be Kitso Magia that he's trying to get a hold of there up in front, but Oratile Motsogotele drops behind Jared Lees, and so does Session Governor now as they head into the next couple of fighting segments. And there's another bit of contact on the backside of Jared Leesk from Session Governor, and he's able to get on the inside of the corner and up in front of Jared Leesk. He's not going to be too happy about that one. The bump on the backhand side and being overtaken is going to seriously enrage him to try and get back up ahead into the top 10 position over here. Oratile is also holding on for the joyride just a bit further behind. And Oratile has also had a pretty good conversion, sitting down in 16th for most of this race. And fortunately getting a little bit further up in 12th. But with 47 seconds left to go, we've got the exact same situation on our hands as heat number 1. Because here comes Geosakia around the final embankment before the final left-hander onto the main straight. And we've still got 30 seconds left to go. So Geosakia is going to be starting us off for our final lap of the racing for heat number 2. Remember, then we head into heat number 3, which is going to be your 20-minute random chaos grid. There will obviously be a bit longer of an intermission as we swap out servers, so about a 15-minute intermission before we head into heat number 3. And Geosakia officially starts the final lap of heat number 2. The battle still escalates, though, as now we see Kyle Williams and Christopher Long, what looks to be fighting it out here. Indeed, it is. Kyle Williams and Christopher Long go toe-to-toe into the first right-hander, and it looks like Christopher Long is going to be holding that outside line with Kyle Williams just on the inside line. A much better run on the outside, though, from Christopher Long. And Kyle Williams is trying to force his way on the inside, but there's a little bit of contact, a bit of bumper bashing between the two of them here. And my goodness, the aggression between the two to try and keep in front. This is going to be a close one running down to the line, Omar.
Yeah, this final lap. This is where they're pulling out all the stops. I mean, the previous race, Chris overtook Kitso on that final lap. This is what it comes down to, the final push to see if you can beat your rival. And with Chris and Carl, both of them very fast drivers, both very strategic drivers, but it's who is going to back off and who's going to push too far. We just seen the guys are overextending on those rumble strips. They're trying to get away from one another.
Yeah, this is where those track limits are going to be tested, and the drivers are going to be trying to find every bit of portion of track that they can use to potentially try and grab an advantage without claiming themselves a penalty as well from going off track limits. But it is officially rounding up to the closing segments of this race. Geosakia builds himself a 2.7 second gap to Derek Truscott, heading around the final embankment into the final left-hander yet again. But this time around, for the final time, and no last lap will be initiated. Geosakia, after a long fought race for heat number 2, has worked his way up from the backside and gets himself a win here for heat number 2. What an absolute job from Geosakia. Derek Truscott will take second position with Michael de Kock making his way up into third. JP Goslet gets himself a fourth position as well, just out of the podium with Ralph Schuster down in 5. Phil G. Truscott will take 6th position. A bit of contact just before the line. And who on earth has just bounced off the wall? Was that Kitso Magia possibly? As we're seeing a couple of drivers in the background there, that someone literally sitting in the middle of the track there. I'm not even sure if they went over the line. That was Oratile, I believe. Indeed, it was. There comes Oratile. So a little bit of post-race stress there. A couple of drivers.
I think that's Kitso.
Yeah, might have been.
I think that's Kitso. Yeah.
Yeah, it is there. It is indeed Kitso. Yeah, so he's still sitting on the line. Hasn't come across the checkered. Now he comes across the checkered line. But that's going to be all the way down to 15th, just before the line for Kitso Magia, after having contact with somebody just before the line. And that is super, super unfortunate to see. But that is officially it, and rounds off your racing for heat number 2. Do not go anywhere. Grab yourself something to drink or eat, but we'll be back in approximately 15 minutes' time for heat number 3, your chaos grid, and quite frankly, one of the more fun and my personal favorite race of the night. Heat number 3 coming to you shortly.
you. And the blackened eyes make my way into your mind, just to know what you knew. Restless every time we start locking eyes. Lost control. Oh, it's paradise with honesty, but I'm in the dead of the night. Let the darkness take control. Let the darkness take control. Darkness take control. May the darkness take control. Take me in the smoke, breathe me in and let me go. Sink to your heart to find you. Open up your eyes till you're blinded by the lies, so you can see what you do. Restless every time we start locking eyes. Lost control. Oh, it's paradise with honesty, but I'm in the dead of the night. Teardrops on the floor. The pain is over. Feel the darkness take control. Darkness take control.
There's a distance between us. It's getting hard to reach out. Haven't seen you in seasons, but all I hear is your voice. I know my limits. You can break me down, but I'll stay till the finish line. And I've been counting minutes for quite some time now, just to see you again. And I've been counting days to get away, to see you again, see you again. Been fighting ways to get away, to see you again, see you again. See you We got millions of reasons to let it all go. Hope we're not too broken. I know I'm not always strong, and I've been counting days to get away, to see you again, see
All right, ladies and gentlemen, and we are officially back with the final portion of racing action here tonight, gearing up towards the start of heat number 3. We're gonna go through. The starting procedure here, the lights out, and then we're also just gonna have a bit of a chat after that about the incident we saw coming up to the line at heat number 2. So we'll have a chat once our starting procedure is all done. But for the time being, it is going to be all eyes towards Mr. Session Governor, who has been put on the front row in the random roller. And this is going to be his chance to potentially get some great results here in this evening's race. The final heat, the gantry lights are ticking off, and it is officially getting going, and it's lights out, and away we will go here for the TGN Pro Series final heat for round number 5. Session Governor starts up on top. Daniel Kent will be taking second now, as the person who was in second didn't join on the grid. Kitsumajia comes on towards the inside line, and he gets a great rotation here in this race. He's already up into second position with the rest of the drivers all stacking up. We've completely avoided all incidents coming through turn number 1, which is great to see. Jared Lees gets a rotation all the way at the backside of the grid here, unfortunately, and he's going to have to work hard to make his way back up. Arutile also towards the back end side, 12th position, with Carl Williams down in 14th position. Christopher Long and Tevin Paul in 5th position. Vilji Truscott in 4th position as well. And Kitsumajia currently sits in 3rd position. Daniel Kento has already claimed first here, as it's 3 wide coming into the next left-hander. Session Governor now will lose out as well to Kitsumajia as he makes his way up into 2nd place. And what a great run of events here we've had. And looks like our starting procedure is pretty much done and dusted. And I believe, Amal, you want to have a bit of a chat quickly about that Heat 2 incident.
Well, let's first just talk what we are seeing right now on screen. And what we have so far, we have a very clean start to this race.
Yep.
I must give the guys kudos for this. We haven't seen this type of thing in quite a while. And I think the drivers just took in the heat of what all happened in race number 2. One of the incidents that we really want to talk about is what we saw at the very end of race number 2 was Kitso was facing the wrong direction at the start line. And what actually happened was Kitso had quite a massive rolling speed on Kyle. Kyle tried to do a defensive maneuver, but didn't expect that Kitso was actually that close to him, causing Kitso to obviously get the worst end of the stick, the short end of the stick, I might say. And it's come to a decision, collective decision, that Kyle will be disqualified from race number 2, and Kitso's points will be reinstated as they were basically 10 meters away from the finish line.
Yeah, a very unfortunate one that we had to witness there. And it was, like we mentioned, a really good fight that was put on between Kitso and Kyle. They both had great races, and unfortunately, things just falling a little bit apart towards the end of it. And, it happens in racing where sometimes you'll get given a penalty, but it's a great way of learning. As I'm hearing shouting coming from the floors here in the Johannesburg Centre, and it sounds like a familiar voice of Dean Jacobs or either Sean Norse. I'm not 100% sure. I do hear they were just a little bit frustrated down on the field. I see JP Goslet has unfortunately had a bit of a rough one as well again. Back down to 16th position. Arutile has made himself work though, and up into 11th position. He's done a great job. Sean Norse currently sits 10th. Carl Williams is fighting his way back up. He knows about the DQ from heat number 2, and now his main objective is to try and get as far up in that top 10 that he can coming into the final heat and get as many points as he can on the board from the points loss that he'll have from heat number 2. The rest of the drivers all going around, though, will be trying their absolute best to try and claw their way up towards the top spots. Currently, it is going to be Kitsumajia versus Daniel Kent versus the likes of Christopher Long, who's had a much better rotation and a much better chance to potentially get himself a second win here in tonight's running. That would be great stuff, as we now see Michael the Cock on the inside line of Session Governor and working his way through the corners. He's made it work. And what a great move there from Michael Lecoq to keep himself into 6th position. Gio Zakia now goes a little bit further down to 5th position, as the rest of the drivers also all work their way through. Ralph Schuster down in 13th. He didn't get the best rotations in tonight's racing for heat number 3, as he starts a little bit further back behind. Carl Williams, already spoke about, currently sits in 9th position. And the rest of the drivers also just doing an incredible job at keeping everything going. And I must say to you, Omar, it seems like heat number 3, the racing is a lot cleaner from what we've seen so far in heat number 1 and 2.
Yes, it's fantastic to watch. I mean, I don't know where to look. There's so much of action now on track where drivers are within zero point 0.4 of a second with each other. If you look at the guy that's basically leading the backpack, Kyle Williams, and Sean is behind him, Oratile, Dean, Schuster, Jared, which was the shouting that you heard. I could see Jared and Dean had a bit of an incident, hence Dean fell a bit behind. But now you have a driver like Ralph that's also one of the top runners that's trying to push his way through all this whole pack.
Yeah, this is the great part about why I love the Chaos race, is just because we've got so much of a mix-up between the different skill levels of the Pro Series. Obviously, all of our drivers are pretty equal in terms of pace, which is why they all get their spot in the Pro Series. But overall, you'll have a couple of drivers who will be better at certain tracks, some better at the slightly narrower and more technical tracks, some better at the more wider and top speed-oriented tracks. And so we get these different approaches here, where some drivers are mixed into a bunch of drivers that are slightly slower than them, and we get a great heap of fighting that we get to witness on the live stream. And that's exactly why
I think you need to switch over to Kitso because Kitso just overtook Daniel on that chicane.
He did indeed, yeah. Kitso is now fighting with Daniel up in front, and I believe this is going to be a recurring battle between these two. I don't think Daniel is going to let this one go. It's definitely going to be a back-to-back fight between Kitso Magia and Daniel Kent. Christopher Long should hopefully join in on this fight, but it seems like he's struggling a little bit there in third position to keep up with the top spots, and Vilji Truscott is giving him quite a run for his money, as we can see over there, just behind, and Geosakia is also tucked in fifth position, but up in front, Kitso Magia, as you can see, no shake-off whatsoever from Daniel Kent in second position, so that's going to be a fight to witness for quite some time as we continue on in this race. And there we see now side-by-side Session Governor as well, taking it with Michael the Cock, holding off on that left-hand side outside, and Session Governor doing everything he can. Remember, Session did start this race up in P1 and unfortunately moved his way back down to sixth position after being overtaken by some slightly faster drivers. Session Governor, also one of our newer guys to the sim racing scene, as well as his first season in the TGN Pro Series here. Obviously, season number 1 of 2026, but definitely not season number 1 over the entire course of the Pro Series being in existence. But up in front, it is still Kitso Magia and Daniel Kent fighting their way between the packs, and a little bit further behind, Rolf Schuster, like we mentioned, one of our Foster drivers, also fighting on. There's a lot of action in the background there. Jared Leesk is pushing Derek Truscott to the far left-hand side of the track, and they are doing everything that they can to try and work their way to lead that main pack. So currently it is Sean Norse who leads it, with Rolf Schuster just up in front of him, but Derek Truscott and Jared Leesk are doing everything that they can, with JP Gosling going a little bit, and there is Jared Leesk going a little bit off track there as he tries to keep his cool and trying to keep up with Sean Norse just up in front. So a lot of work has to be done for our drivers here, but overall the quality of racing is absolutely outstanding, and we're getting such good racing out of this mid-pack.
Fantastic to watch. I mean, look at Gio and Volgi. They're giving no holding no quarter. They're not giving any space. They go in side by side, bumper to bumper. For any mistake, they're looking for that to gain that positions. But drivers like Sean, this is a great learning curve for them, as well as Dean, the other slower drivers. This is what racing is supposed to be about, finding your way past your opponent without real altercations.
Yeah, that's the main thing about racing, is trying to get past a fellow driver without causing any form of impediment or any form of a contact, which is unfortunately quite common, especially in tin top racing. If you're someone who knows motorsports for something like Formula One, then contact is pretty rare to you, and it's more just seen as full-on accidents where a driver gets DNF'd from a race. But in tin top racing, where we see, slightly better built cars, where cars can withstand a lot more, you see a lot more door-to-door bashing, a lot of bumper bashing, and sometimes to some drivers, it's the only way to get past another driver. But what we try and foster here at TGN is a form of overtaking where you do not cause any impediment on another driver, and it's been great to see the improvement over the past year or so since we've really started doing live streams over the TGN Pro Series. I can personally say the improvement that we've been seeing with our drivers here, and the overtakes are just so much more ethically balanced. We're seeing drivers actually putting proper consideration into when they can dive and when they can make an overtake happen, instead of just seeing the gap and hoping for the best. It is not an Ayrton Senna quote line, unfortunately. Here we do things with proper movements and proper thought behind each overtake, which is lovely to see that is continuously developing within our network of TGN. And just a reminder that if you are witnessing the TGN Pro Series and you're thinking, man, this is something that I could possibly get involved in, well, then don't be shy and make your way down to one of the 3 TGN centers across Johannesburg, Cape Town, and Durban, and get yourself qualified for TGN Pro Series Season number 2. That will be happening right after the Season number 1 finisher, which finishes in about 3 rounds or so. So you want to get yourself qualified for when Season number 2 starts, and then you can possibly get yourself involved in the action with either the TGN Rookie Series or the TGN Pro Series. As we now see a couple of our drivers coming in to get those pit stops served. I believe we had a few on the previous lap, but it is great to see the pit stop strategies already coming into play. Session Governor, Volgi Truscott, Geo comes in. Artile looks like he's going to be staying out, and we might see another one of Artile's masterclasses here of his pit stop strategies. He's been commonly known for that in the TGN network, of being the man who knows what to do with a pit stop strategy, and it looks like he might be able to do something here tonight. Up into 4th he goes. We'll have to wait and see where the pit stop throws him out once he's done with that. But overall, it's still good racing across the board from all of our drivers across the 3 provinces, with Kitso Magia still leading this race up in front. Daniel Kento is unfortunately dropping off slightly, but Omar.
Yeah, so what I can see, if you've missed it, Christopher Long has actually took quite an early pit, and he's currently in 9th place. So now we do a bit of a calculation, and the time it takes for you to pit, there is very much a possibility that Chris can actually make it now in the top 3, possibly even say 2nd place for sure. But depending of how hard Daniel's going to push, trying to keep up with Kitso. Kitso is basically running away. He's already 2.2 seconds away. Michael is struggling a bit. He's 3 seconds behind. So it's anyone's game. And look at JP. JP's taking this advantage. He's going to extend his spit as long as possible to gain that positions, starting all the way from the back.
Yeah, talking about that, he's also in an active fight himself currently with Sean Norse, and trying to make every bit of that car last up until the pit stop needs to come into play. And currently tailing on the backside of that pink Cupra Leon of Sean Norse as he tries to make his way around track. But it is going to be JP Goslet right in his trail, trying to get past. And indeed, the time has flown again here for heat number 3, because we've only got 8 minutes left. We are well past the halfway mark here, and that's why we're seeing so many pit stops. There comes Daniel Kent and Michael the Cock into the pit stop. Same with Aratile now. He's going to come in 5th and unfortunately drop down a bit. But the driver to be talking about here is going to be Kitso Magia, who has stayed out. And like you mentioned, Christopher Long came in for that very early pit stop. I did see 2 or 3 drivers who came in about a lap or 2 before the main packs did, and Christopher Long seems to be one of them. And there we see it. Omar, you did mention getting up towards the top 3. He's now into the 4th position slot, and Kitso Magia is still yet to pit up in front. So we'll have to wait and see where Christopher Long is going to end up. He's still got 8 minutes of fighting within him, and as you can see, tailing on the backside of Daniel Kent. So we might be able to see a bit of a fight coming on here. This is the battle for 3rd as it stands between Christopher Long and Daniel Kent. Gio Sakia finds himself a little bit further down on the pack, down in 9th position now after the pit stops, trailing behind Carl Williams and Aratile after his pit stops. Unfortunately, it didn't work out too well there, and moves down into 10th position for the time being. We really have not had many incidents here in this race, which is absolutely lovely to see, because usually it's trying to switch to the camera angles where we're seeing drivers falling off track, but we really are not seeing that too much. A couple of rear end flicks, for example, what Carl Williams just had, and that's quite frequent in your front end cars. When you brake and you try and over rotate the car in a front wheel drive car, they do tend to flick the rears out a little bit, that you've got to watch out for. But nonetheless, great racing action across the board here that we're seeing for heat number 3, and it's a consistent thing we've seen for the past 2 rounds, where heat number 3 has really shown us a lot of good action throughout on the board. Aratile down in 10th position still. Unfortunately, Sean Norse makes his way down to 14th after the pit stops, 15th for Tevin Paul, and unfortunately at the backside of the grid is Dean Jacobs. Kitso Magia jumps into the pit lane now, and now this is the question, Omar. Where is Daniel Kent and Christopher Long going to come out? As we continue here, we do see Daniel Kent and Christopher Long still making their way around. And hopefully we see some form of action between these two. Ralph Schuster comes into box as well. So here comes Daniel Kent. Here comes Kitso Magia out of the pit box. And he cuts onto the main part of the track just in time. And just in front of Christopher Long, who overtakes Daniel Kent at the pit exit line. And now it is a three-way fight between Daniel Kent, Christopher Long, and Kitsumagia. The top three will be heading into quite a head-on battle here, unless Kitsumagia can get a bit of a runoff. Yeah, he's on fresh tires and a fresh fuel tank, and has the possibility, with some confidence, to pull away from that pack behind. We'll have to wait and see how that's going to go for him. The rest of our drivers all still in a bit of a train formation here. He has Ralf Schuster trying to make some leeway on the backside of Arutile Motsogotsele. We'll have to wait and see if that's going to prove him any justice. Jared Leask a bit further behind as well in 11th. JP Goslet trailing behind him as well. Sean Norse, unfortunately, still down 14th. Carl Williams holding on to that 8th position slot, with Gio Sakia just a bit further up in front in his white Cupra Leon. He's chasing on the backside of Michael de Kock, who we already mentioned is having a little bit of a struggle here in this race to try and get up towards the top front runner. Session Governor also sitting in 5th position as he tries to get up towards Volji Truscott. And we'll have to wait and see if this is going to prove to be something that Session Governor can do, or if he's unfortunately going to remain where he is. But a top 5 finish nonetheless would be great for Session Governor in this race. Volji Truscott holding on to that 4th position slot, and hopefully we get to see something coming out of him. He's in a bit of a no man's land as it stands, a bit of a gap behind and quite a long gap up ahead, as the top 3 are ever so close within fighting distance. Kitsumagia is not pulling away like we thought he would, and it's still about a second or so from himself to Daniel Kent, and Christopher Long about 1.7 seconds behind Kitsumagia, so just about 7/10 behind Daniel Kent. And so it is pretty much even between our top 3. You can see the gap between the 3 of them are pretty much the same distance. It's equidistant across the top 3, and Vilji Truscott, unfortunately, 8 seconds away. So the top 3 in a bit of a land of their own here, and they will have to sort it out up front to determine who will take that top crown spot. Kitsumagia is hungry for some justice. He was unfortunately the driver affected in that Heat 2 incident where he fell off the grid. Fortunately, he did get his points added back for 9th position, so he got some points on the board. But hey, finishing up in 1st with 3.5 minutes left would be absolutely stellar here for Kitsumagia. But Daniel Kent is not going to make it an easy one in these next couple of corners. Derek Truscott a little bit further behind in 12th position. Also a long leeway up in front of him, about 5 seconds just behind Jared Leask. And so in a bit of a no man's land between himself as well. Sean Norse down at 13th. He's also trying to trail on, and Tevin Paul at the backside of this grid, 15th position. Dean Jacobs is actually at the backside in 16th position, and he's just trying to do everything that he can to work up back towards the main part of this grid. But unfortunately, with 3 minutes left, he does not have a lot to play for here. Kitsumagia still holding up in front. This is going to be our main battle that we're going to be watching. Same with the battle for 4th position, as it is starting to scale. There we see Gio Sakia now fighting with Session Governor. Michael de Kock has gotten ahead in the past couple of laps, and into 5th position he will go. Session Governor loses out that top 5 and now sits 6th position. Gio Sakia is now doing everything he can to try and get into 6th position and possibly put a position between himself and Carl Williams, who we know is an incredibly fast driver behind. So Gio Sakia doing everything he can to play the defense game here, trying to go side by side with Session Governor through the chicanes, but he's got to try and keep it nice and safe between himself and Session Governor. But up in front, it is still going to be Michael de Kock chasing onto the backside of Vilji Truscott, who claims a bunch of land on the left-hand side. You've got to pay for that, sir, if you want to grab it. And he goes off the track, unfortunately not able to jump back on with swift effect. And that's added a little bit of pressure on the backside of him, because Michael de Kock is just going to be even closer on the backside here to potentially attacking him on the rear side. Christopher Long is dropping off from Daniel Kent, unfortunately, and does not look like he's going to be within a fighting chance unless something happens up in front. That is the card that he currently has to play. Vilji Truscott, though, still holding on with Michael de Kock just a bit further behind in 5th position, and Session Governor doing absolutely everything he can in 6th position to make his way around. There's contact, though, and Session Governor gets spun around by Gio Sakia. Unfortunately, Carl Williams gets himself into 6th after that bump, and unfortunately for Session Governor, he moves down into 8th position with Orotile now on the backside wanting to claim another position. A little bit of a late dive there from Gio Sakia, just tapping the inner right hand side bumper of Session Governor and spinning his car around. It was a good recovery, though, from Session to only lose 2 positions, but now he's going to try and work those back with the amount of time he's been allocated left. About 1 minute and 20 seconds left, and Kitsumagia is still a little bit of a long shot away from finishing off this race, but I believe we will still be going to one more final race. He's been in this situation before in heat number 1, where he was in the same situation. Just Christopher Long was right behind him, and now he's 1 car length away from him, with Daniel Kent being parked in between the two. But with 1 minute left, they head into the final embankment. And it looks like there definitely is going to be one more lap of racing here to go in the final heat. Kitsumajia will have to keep all of his focus planted on this current race. He cannot lose sight of that finish line and potential redemption from what happened in the previous race. And he's doing an incredible job to make his way there. Christopher Long, again, dropping off slightly from the backside of Daniel Kent. That battle for 4th position is still scaling up. As we can see, Michael de Kock getting very close to the backside of LG Truscott and potentially an overtake coming up shortly. Kyle Williams will also want to move into top 5 and claim a couple more points to his name. We'll have to wait and see if that's going to work out for him. Session Governor still 8th with Ralph Schuster in 9th position. Artile has lost out to Ralph yet again. These two have been back and forth fighting essentially this entire night over our 3 heats, and it looks like they're going to just continue to do that nonetheless. But as we hit 5 seconds left on the clock, Kitsumajia is heading into Sector 2 of the Snetterton racetrack, and it's going to be a little bit of time left, but there we officially see it on the top side of our screens that the leader is on the final lap. It is the final time that he will be going around here to come down towards the end line of this track. And boy, oh boy, has it been a bit of a charge here for Kitsumajia, with Daniel Kent just a bit further behind him, trying his very best to make it and keep it in second position, with Christopher Long putting endless amounts of pressure on him towards the end part of this race. But he's had to keep all his focus, and Christopher Long, with making those mistakes, has made it slightly easier for Daniel Kent. But nonetheless, it's been pressure from the backside this entire time. Session Governor down in 8th position, and Ralph Schuster is looking to make one more position here before the end of the race. He's right on the backside of the already contacted Session Governor, who's been in the walls yet tonight. And Ralph Schuster trying to claim one more name before we end off this race. But further behind, though, it's still Aratilia, and Jared Leask has unfortunately been left in a bit of a gap there in 11th position. No one in front, no one behind for the next 2 to 3 seconds. And so he's got some time to breathe. But the man who has been holding his breath the entire night and looks like he's going to score himself some sweet redemption in heat number 3 comes into the final left-hander to join onto the main straight, where the checkered flag line is well within view. And Kitsumajia is going to come across the checkered flag line for heat number 3, the final one of the night. And what a great win there from Kitsumajia. Daniel Kent is going to hold the defense against Christopher Long and take second, with Christopher Long taking third. Vilji Truscott holds off Michael de Kock and claims 4th position, with Michael de Kock taking 5th. Carl Williams takes 6th, with Gio Sakir taking 7th. Session Governor 8th. Ralph Schuster will take 9th, with Arotile taking 10th, and Jared Leask taking 11th position. 12th position is going to be Derek Truscott and JP Goslet in 13th. 14th is going to be Sean Norse, with 15th position being the likes of Tevin Paul. 16th, unfortunately, the last driver on tonight's grid is going to be Dean Jacobs, a little bit further down, and rounding off our racing for tonight as he comes across the checkered flag line. What an absolutely amazing night of racing it has been here. And I can tell you definitely that it's been some of the better racing we've seen across the board between the previous rounds here at the TGN Pro Series. But that is officially it for round number 5. And thank you to all who have joined us across our 3 platforms for tonight. It's been Twitch, it's been YouTube, and it's been TikTok. And you've shown the love across all 3 platforms. And what a great night it's been of some sim racing here at TGN Pro Series. My name has been Tristan Earps, joined occasionally in the commentary box by Omar Khan, providing us some very useful insights on our drivers and a couple of moves that they've been making up and down the grid. We'll see you in 2 weeks' time for round number 6 of the TGN Pro Series. You better bookmark it in your calendar, same time, 7 o'clock at night, and we'll see you there. Hope you have an absolutely fantastic night, and we'll see you in just 2 weeks' time. Have a great one.